Hey, I just woke up from a dream, right? And I had a bunch of little kids, and I was telling them a story. Right? What stories I was telling them, don't ask me. But I just had a dream like that. But then when I woke up, I remembered it, and I was like, wow, that was a very interesting dream in so many ways because not only did I used to like my nieces and nephews, or even all the kids, my daughter, my grandkids, when they were little children, I used to have them all around me. Like say the family be gathered around. All the kids that was in the family, they probably tell them, go in the room, it's time for y'all to go to sleep. They don't want to go to sleep. So I'll be like, yo, come on, yo. Yeah, we're going to go to sleep. I'm going to tell y'all a story. And, it's crazy. Whenever you ask a kid, yo, what kind of story y'all want? Y'all want funny story, a romantic story, you want a horror story, and yo, most of them is horror. That's it. Not all of them, but most of the kids in the room, out of every time that I've ever had kids in the room, and there's plenty of times that I had a lot of kids in the room, and it would be a few. They want to hear a love story or a funny story. And I done told them all. But in this dream, I was telling the kids a story. And that's all I remember from it. I don't know what kind of story. But I do know one thing, that the other part of this dream is I wasn't only the teacher of it, I was also one of the ones laying down listening to the teacher tell a story. Or the person that was telling the story. Which I can also relate to because I used to be a child inside of a room with a bunch of kids, and it'd be nap time, and we used to have a counselor that used to tell a story to us all, and we would all go to sleep to his stories. And he told us all kinds of stories. But this one story that I'm going to tell, that I'm making this video about now. Now I got my daughter, my nieces, and my nephews, my grandchildren. They probably, I didn't tell it to them too many times. And each time I tell it, it's always different. And I can never tell it as well as the man that I first heard tell it. This man was a master story. He was a master with everything that he did. With fighting, thinking, moving. Yo, this man was a great man. Anyway, he told us this story. And throughout the years, I have told it. Like, I had these bunch of kids. And because out of all the stories he ever told us, and I loved a lot of them. I loved all of them. But this one captured me. Captured me so much that he had to come and tell me. Because usually he would tell his stories till he'd see that all of us was asleep. But when he was telling this story, oh, I wanted to hear the end. There was no going to sleep. Because I had my eyes closed. But as I'm listening to him talking, I'm making a movie in my mind, and it's a damn good one. But anyway, without further ado, here go that story. And hopefully, your kids, they want to go to sleep at night, and they don't want to go, you be like, yo, listen, I'm going to let you hear a story. And you can tell them, little kids, though. I mean, you might even get some bigger ones, but the little ones. The ones like 2, 3, 4. Ask them what kind of story they want. If they say, I want a scary story. Okay. Here we go. Y'all ready? There was a man, a woman, 2 little kids, a boy and a girl. The boy was like 3 years old. The girl was 5. And just like every other morning, they get up, father would leave out first, go to work. Then the mother, she would send the kids up to the bus stop to school. Which the bus stop was right. They walk out of their house and the bus stop was right there. Anyway, just like any other morning, the kids wake up. Their mother, she gives them breakfast. They go, they take baths at night, so in the morning, all they gotta do is go and wipe down certain parts, and boom, be ready for, after they eat their breakfast, you would send them in there, use the bathroom, man. Okay, and even if you wanted to go ahead and take another, there was enough time, you go ahead and take another bath in the morning, which both of them usually would do. But for some strange reason this morning, the little boy would usually go in there first. As he was taking a shower, he kept hearing the sound. Chico, chico, chico. And, that was it. But his sister, she was hearing the same sound when she was taking her shower. Like I said, even though they took showers at night, and their mother would send them to go in there, but they would still wash again. Which is very important to later on in the story. Why they would take their bath at night and then wash again in the morning. But on this very morning, both of them heard that sound in the shower, but they thought nothing of it. They wondered what it was, but they didn't pay it too much of that attention. Anyway, after they get out, the brother gets out first, while he's getting dressed, he just see this, he's in his room, and he sees this flashing light through the window, and then everything goes dark. So he walks to the window and he looks out. But by the time he gets to the window, it's light again. You can see the cars moving down. And he scratches his head like, what just happened? Now, believe it or not, same thing with his sister after she finishes her bath after him. And she goes into her room. Same thing happens. So now, the mother, the whole while, the mother, she's getting ready because she got to get dressed because she got to drive them to school. She always stands at the door and she don't never stand there in a house robe. She be fully dressed because she has to go to work too. And so she stands, when they walk out the door, she usually stands there. But on this particular morning, as they come out the room, and they looking at their mother, and she's dressed, they're dressed. And as she's looking them over, she looks at her son first. Then she turns and looks at her daughter, looks her up and down. And then her head continues on turning all the way around. Without her chest, her whole head just twists and comes back around this way. And then they run out the house to the bus stop. Now they get on the bus. All the kids is on the bus. Their mother, and they look back at the house at their mother because they just witnessed what happened. And they see her standing at the door waving by and screaming, I love you. And both of them are scratching their head because remember, they haven't talked to each other yet. But they know they both saw that. So they look at each other. And then they just decide, I'm not going to say nothing. If he saw that, I don't know. And he's thinking if she saw that, I don't know. So I'm not going to tell her about all the other stuff. I'm just not going to say nothing. Mommy was saying she loved us and waving. All right, that's good enough for me. Both of them are thinking the same thing. So they don't speak to each other. Now, here's go where it get real weird. All of a sudden, it's like about 20-something kids on the bus on their way to school. All of a sudden, the little boy and girl, they hear that sound again. Chico, chico, chico. And both of them look at each other and be like, yo, do you hear that? And she was like, yeah, you hear it? She's like, yeah, I heard it when I was taking my bath. She said, so did I. And then he said, and then when I was getting dressed in the room, it was like everything went black. And she said, yeah, the same thing happened to me. And as soon as they had said it, you heard that sound? Chico, chico, chico. That sound was actually the earth moving and a hole opening, leading down into the earth where it was nothing but darkness. And so the whole school bus fell inside this hole of darkness. That's where the trouble began. Now, when the bus fell in the darkness, it didn't just fall down a hole. It was like it went into it. It drove down into it. It just went down into the darkness. Like a hole opened up and the bus rolled the hole. It was ground all the way under the wheels of the bus. But the bus was going so far down into this hole, there was no light. All the kids on the bus, oh, they are freaking out, especially when the bus stops, because it stops in the middle of this cabin where it's nothing but total darkness. You can't see nothing. Thank God the headlights to the bus is still working. But everywhere that you can see into the light, it's still never ending darkness. So, there are walls there, and they're in a tunnel. But the tunnel, it goes straight. You can hold on to the walls and walk through it. But it's just forever it extends beyond to where even the light does shine. And now, I think I'm gonna add on to this story because I like the way that it's turning out. Might even make it a movie. Stay tuned for part 2.